Welcome back to the Blue Blood Rivalry TV Podcast. My name is Hassan Pinto, and I'm joined today by Daryl Brunson and Will Phelan. Tobacco Road is buzzing, but for different reasons. Duke is on a roll, taking down Georgia Tech, Virginia Tech, SMU, and Pitt, and Coach Shia's squad looks sharp by continuing to win big and make noise in the ACC. Meanwhile, in Chapel Hill, the Tar Heels have experienced a roller coaster. They've climbed back from losses from Florida and Louisville with impressive wins at UCLA, Notre Dame, Campbell, and SMU. So today, we're going to dive deep into both teams' recent performances, analyze their strengths and weaknesses, and debate the hot topics in the rivalry. Ready, set, let's get it! What's up, fellas? How are you?
Good, man. Happy holidays, and I hope they were good for you guys.
Yeah, Happy New Year, fellas. Good to see you. It's been a while.
It's been a while. Daryl, what did you do over the Christmas break? Anything?
I enjoyed this dominance of Duke that we're about to discuss.
Okay. And Will, was your break a dominant break?
You know, my team just added to the stress. Just added to the holiday stress.
All right. Did you guys get turkey? Did you gain any weight? Like, what happened, guys?
Yeah, I definitely picked up a few pounds for sure. That's what the holidays are for, though, man. I mean, it's gifts, food, family, and all those things at times can add to the weight. And I definitely got a lot of weight I need to get off of. Sign. I need to start working out, baby. It's a new year.
All right. So we're talking mid-season check-in, the state of the Duke Carolina rivalry, Blue Blood TV, Season 7, Episode 9. Daryl, Duke has been on a tear lately. What do you attribute to this success? Is it the defense? Is it a better offensive flow? Is it Cooper Flag? Or a combination of factors? Talk to me, Daryl.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with D, all the above. For sure, first and foremost, man, defensively, this team has really started to click, and I've been talking about it all year, but between Kaman Malawach inside and Cooper and his motor, it's infectious. That motor is extremely infectious, and that intensity and tenacity on the defensive side of the ball, first and foremost, has seemed to rub off on the rest of the team. You look at them playing Pittsburgh, a team that came in undefeated in the conference. They kept them without a point for the last 8 minutes of the game, essentially. And that in itself says a lot about this team. But like I said, also Cooper Flag, right? All around, Cooper Flag is doing everything for this team. And if people weren't on notice, if people were doubting Cooper Flag, I think when he punched on old buddy last night, might have woke some people up.
Daryl, Cooper Flag, he went baseline to baseline, gets a dunk on a 7-footer, a 6'10" guy. I personally felt like it was just a little overhyped. I know it was a good dunk, but it wasn't great. It wasn't my top 10. It wasn't Vinsanity. It wasn't Jerry Stackhouse. It wasn't a lot of things. Like, it was just, for me, the way the internet was hyping this dunk up. I had to go back and look at it. I just was like, hype.
Let's be honest, Hassan. You were thriving in the 90s, right? I mean, you're still soaring, don't get me wrong, but you remember White Man Can't Jump, right? So at the end of the day, man, white man dunks on a dude like that, and it's almost like he dunked on an 8-footer on an 11-foot goal. And that's just going to be the reaction, especially when the guy comes from Duke. I mean, yeah, you're probably right. I've seen it before. And side note, LeBron James's dunk last night was probably better than Cooper Flag's, especially at 40 years old.
It's an
But
old man.
to watch him in that moment, 18-year-old kid, barely 18, do what he did, that was impressive.
Okay. But it was overhyped. There is a concerted effort by Duke and the Duke media, ESPN, to hype this kid up. I mean, it was a good dunk. It is not even in my top 100 dunks in college basketball. It was just
Come on, Hassan. Top
it
100.
was
Come on,
just
man. You got to give him
okay.
top
It was
100. Top
it's not a
100.
top
Come on.
100 dunk. I mean, he didn't get in the air. He didn't hang
Hansbrough,
on the rim. He
Hansbrough had
didn't
a better
shit.
dunk.
It's not Danny Green. It's not a Danny Green dunk. Like it was like he shook his nuts. He shook his nuts. He didn't do anything.
I see what type of time we on this year, man. Let's move on to the next question.
Okay, Will, I'm going to talk to Will. I'm tired of you talking to you, Daryl. Will, UNC showed some resilience after those early losses. What has been the key to their turnaround? Is it improved defense, better offense execution, mentality, or is Hubert Davis just on the freaking hot seat? You tell me what's going on over there.
I don't know if it's necessarily Hubert. I think it's a little combination of. Offense starts with defense, right? So if we tighten up the defensive intensity, excuse me, and then we start hitting shots, man. I think that's key for a while at the beginning of the season during that 3-game losing streak. We weren't knocking down shots, guys weren't making plays, and I think we shore up the defensive end, and everything kind of settles off. Guys are starting to fill roles too, which is nice.
Okay, in my opinion, the big part of that turnaround was that UCLA game, which I thought UNC was going to lose. I thought
we were done.
I thought you were done. I thought you were going to be a loss to Florida, a loss to UCLA, a win at Campbell, and a loss to Louisville.
Yeah.
And I thought you were going to get a loss to Notre Dame. So I thought it could have been the end of your season, and the Blue Blood rivalry would have been not much of a rivalry, Will. So, but I think that UCLA win, I believe that was your guy. Was Cadeau the guy in that game?
Cadeau was the guy. Cadeau was the guy. He's been up and down. He's been a little streaky this season, but I mean, you look what he did against Notre Dame with that 4-point play. You look what he did against UCLA. Like he still lets us know he's there.
I think also we spoke about it earlier in the year with Hubert kind of holding the freshmen back, the first year players. Ian Jackson has looked really, really good at times, and I think Hubert's finally kind of letting the reins go on that for sure.
Yeah, and Drake Powell's our best player.
Drake Powell, but Hubert had him handcuffed at the beginning of the season because Hubert thought he was coaching Dean Smith basketball. Yep. We're gonna let the freshmen watch. And what Hubert had to realize is we're not in that era, right? Like Ian Jackson, Drake Powell, 5-star recruits, let them have the ball, get them in, let them go, let them get comfortable, and let's run with it, right? That's what I think has happened over the last 4 games. Would you agree, Will?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I think when he finally turned these guys loose was really when you started to see some of that more consistent turnaround. It was kind of up and down early to start the season, but yeah, now that these guys have kind of carved out their roles within the roster and he's kind of shortened the rotation, I mean, yeah, absolutely.
All right, Daryl, we're going to go back to you. Let's talk about chemistry, team chemistry over the last 4 games. Are you seeing stronger leadership, communication? Are you seeing a trust amongst the players? And let's focus on one guy in particular, Sion James. Let's talk about, is he mitigating his game to facilitate and become a role player so that this Duke team can win? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, you took the words out of my mouth with Sion James. I think he's the biggest factor when we talk about team chemistry. We talked about how young this Duke is. Most of their star players or hype coming into the season was about their first year freshman players, DeCon Knipple, Cooper Flagg. But Sion James, a transfer from Tulane, really does provide, I think, security, some senior, like some more senior leadership. And you know, you can see it. You can see it every time these guys step onto the floor that he is the captain of this team. He is the captain of the ship. And while it goes as far as Cooper Flag goes, I think Sion James has been directing the ship most recently. And obviously, over these last several games, they've looked better than they have all year. And I think the team's starting to click right now. And hopefully they continue to grow, but because they're going to need to be able to win in March and April. But this team looks really good, and I think Sion James is a big factor for that.
Yeah, let's go back to that SMU game where Duke won 89-62. Sion James had like 8 assists, and there was a couple of assists there where I felt like he could have pulled up the ball and shot the rock. And it just seems to me like this guy is saying, I'm team first. I'm going to play my role. And I think what he's doing is demonstrating to NBA scouts, if you pick me in the first round, I'm going to be a big, hardcore defender. And if you put me on a team with like a LeBron or a Steph Curry, I'm going to do all the dirty work to get those guys open to find shots. So I think Sion James is not only doing what he needs to do for the team, but I actually think he's smart. I think he's showcasing himself for the NBA. Will, what do you think about that? Do you think he's showing NBA scouts that he can play a role on a team?
I think he's kind of carved out that role player niche for sure, man. Those guys are. I think they may not be the most important, but I think they're just as important as having that big name. The guy who's willing to do everything, all the dirty work is crucial, man. I think that's the guy. See,
Okay, yeah,
let's not
okay.
forget that he's a big guard too. He's 6'6", and obviously he's
yeah,
built like a brick wall.
big body
Um,
for sure.
yeah, he was bullying Pittsburgh at times last night in the paint. And I think that you're right, Hassan. I think right now he's showcasing that he could be a key role player in the NBA and he can accept that role.
Yeah, and I worked in the NBA. That's a really big deal. I don't know if people know that showcasing that you can play a role. That's why like Carolina guys, Duke guys, Kansas guys go to the NBA. So there might be this guy who's putting up 27 points a game at University of Cincinnati, but he goes in the second round, gets offered a 1-year deal, and then or doesn't even make the roster because these NBA scouts know that when you come from a program like UNC, you come from a program like Duke, you have to play in a system.
Yeah.
And NBA is all about a system with role players. And I think that Sion James is playing this one smart. Dale, we're going to go back to you. Let's talk tactically. Talk about the biggest areas of improvement for Duke.
I think that Duke's biggest area of improvement is just their willingness to facilitate, right? And to spread that wealth. They have so much talent. We've talked about this all year, and that chemistry right now is clicking. It's like any guy on the court at any given time can be the guy. And I think that's really interesting to see when you have the 5 guys on the court, but also 3 on the bench that can all literally be the guy. And this team seems to be so unselfish. Right now, Cooper Flag is on a stretch of, very efficient basketball. And I think that he has to be the guy for them to win it all. But I also believe that he seems to be selfless and allowing other people to shine when
Cooper
they get their
Flag is
opportunity.
not Cooper Flag is not selfish. What's his box score? How many shots did he take yesterday for that 19 points, Daryl? Do you
He
know?
took 11 shots, Hassan.
That was good for him in that game, but this season he has not been selfless. He has been trying to live up to this majestic hype that ESPN is creating around the kid. The kid is a good
I would
player.
agree. I
He's
would
an
agree, but
NBA player, but
Mhm.
he's not what they're making him out. Just like that dunk was not in my top 100 dunks. It's not a Danny Green. It's not a Jerry Stackhouse. It's it's
So I
it's
would
not
agree.
that.
I would agree for the first half of this first half of the season. I was very critical of Cooper Flag taking 20 shots, I think, on our last episode, right? But and you're asking me most recently what has changed, and I think that Cooper Flag has accepted that there are other players on the team. He's in his last 3 games has taken like 12, 11, and 14 shot attempts and has been very efficient. And I think that prior to that, you're right, trying to prove that he's the number one pick. You've got a couple guys at Rutgers, right, who are trying to do the same thing. And I think that he was trying to showcase his talent. I do believe that I don't know who got in his ear, probably Chris Carrawell. Shout out to Carrawell, that he's now accepted that he doesn't have to prove that by shooting the ball every time down the court, and has allowed other players on the team, for the success of the team, to be successful and other players to thrive. And so over the last few games, I think that's what's changed. And this Duke team has looked a lot better, and they've looked a lot more invested on a play-to-play basis.
All right, Will, how are you doing over there, Will? Let's talk about the ups. Let's talk about the ups and downs that you've had over the last couple of weeks, this Christmas holiday. Let's talk about leadership. Who has emerged as key leaders on and off the court? Is it your guy Elliot Cadeau?
So I definitely think RJ and Elliott, everything kind of runs through them. If you look at the Louisville and Notre Dame games, we were without Seth Trimble, anybody like that. And so I think that as far as leadership goes, everything kind of runs through those two guys, I feel like. But yeah, these freshmen, man, they're stepping up, and they're everybody's kind of carved out their role, which is huge.
Let me ask you a question. Did you see Ian Jackson on the ball, bringing the ball up the court? What do you think about that?
A little bit. I like it. I mean, we're small, right? So
and that's a problem, Will.
It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. It's a huge problem. But I think that, like, I mean, if you watch that game last night, Drake Powell made some great passes. He hit Elliott on a bounce pass running in transition that was just phenomenal. So we're small, but these guys finding their roles and everything, man, like everything's kind of falling into place now. And the ACC is not that tough this year either. So
I think you guys look like a bunch of skinny, tall guys.
Yep.
The tall guys will look too skinny, and the short guys look too heavy. That's what I see. Like I see Elliot Cadeau. He's kind of thick. He's not that nimble. When I look at Ian Jackson, I don't see a grown man. I see a player, though. When I see a Drake Powell, I don't see a grown man. I see a player, right?
I mean, with Ian and Drake, we're still talking about 18-year-old kids, though. So, like, it's obviously they're not Cooper Flag. They're not the Cooper Flags of the world, but those guys are
like
one in a million.
Right, buddy.
You don't have a Mullock. You don't have a Sion James. Like when I look at the Duke team, I'm seeing an NBA team, right? That's what I'm seeing. When I look at the Carolina team, I'm seeing kids.
Yeah.
Ian, I see a kid run. I see a talented kid. Drake, a kid. Unfortunately, your center, I see, what is he, a junior now? Washington?
Yeah.
I still see a child.
He's
like a gangly puppy. Like, it's not a full male. Like, I'm not seeing men on the field, on the court. That's what. But Will, what's your biggest concern about this team? I think I've led you to it. Despite the wins.
Size. Despite the wins, it's size, man. We've proven that we can play against lesser opponents, but then we've had a tough schedule. Out of conference schedule has been real tough. Size. Carolina teams we're used to watching Carolina out rebound people and win on the glass and then create points that way. And this team's not going to out rebound anybody. So size is the biggest concern.
Will and I very rarely agree, but I think that he's spot on with the size. They posted a metric last night on ESPN during the game, and Duke's average height for their players is 6'8". I think it was 79.5 inches. Like that's ridiculous. And right now, in a year where Carolina really is struggling inside, I think that's going to be the reason that Duke dominates this rivalry. Don't get me wrong. I understand it can go either way. It's the Blue Blood rivalry. We know even when one team is overmatched, it still could be, it's still the Blue Blood rivalry. But this year, I think that size is going to be the biggest detriment for Carolina.
And Will, let me take you back in time. 1994, Eric Montross, 7 foot, 270. George Lynch, 6'8", 220.
You don't even have to go back that far. Go back to the early 2000s.
Okay, the short guys. Let me give you the short guys. This is 90s. Okay. Short guys. Donald Williams, the short guys are 6'3".
Yeah.
Okay. And Brian Reese, 6'6". Derek Phelps, the point guard, 6'4", 6'5". Pat Sullivan, 6'8". Kevin Salvadori, 7 foot. Henrik Rodel, 6'9". Matt Williams, 7'2". I mean, and if I go down on the bench, Dante Calabria, 6'5".
Yeah.
Okay. Here's Landry, one of the bottom feeders. Travis Stevens, 6'7", 6'5", right? So when you're looking at like national championship teams, what Hubert is putting on the floor is not traditionally a Carolina team.
Well, and it's not good enough. And I mean, we talked about it a couple episodes ago as far as NIL goes, and I think that our real issue, I mean, outside of the size issue, is going to be the money issue. I think that, I mean, if you don't have, excuse me, if you don't have money to bring in big guys, I mean, look at BYU paying that dude $7 million. We need to step our game up on that end, or we're going to continue to fall behind on the court.
But you do have the talent. I just feel like Hubert isn't utilizing it. I think it's not. We're talking about big man. I think they lack the talent there. But Drake Powell and Ian Jackson are both two NBA ready players, in my opinion. They will play in the NBA, and I think that sure they're actually two of the better recruits to come out of Carolina in the last few years. But Hubert's playing his 4-corner basketball out there, Dean Smith style. And I believe that he's not letting these guys go. Now, most recently, he has, and I think that that's starting to show with the energy of this team that they're allowing these young guys to finally play some.
All right, let's talk player-specific performances. Now we're gonna drill in, okay? Daryl and Will, get ready because I'm about to drill into your Elliot Cadeau. Daryl, Cooper Flag, he's been pretty good lately. Dunk overrated. The elevation, it wasn't there. The jingle when he grabbed the hoop wasn't there. But they're making it out to be like this guy is Magic Johnson, Larry Bird, like Kevin Garnett. Like, I mean, and I see none of that. But he has been more assertive. He has been more impactful. And he has been choosing his shot selection a little bit better. Why do you think that's happening, Daryl? Or was last night an aberration and we're going to go back to the craziness?
I believe that he has, like I said before, I just believe he's accepted that for the team to win, he has to rely on other guys at times, and he can still get his. And I think that's what he's doing. I mean, like I said, he's been efficient. At times, I will say, I still hate when he gets inside the paint and does that little spin move and loses the ball. That shit has to be the most infuriating thing I've ever witnessed, for somebody to be that insane to continue to do the same move inside and lose the ball the same way that he did against Kentucky and Kansas, respectively, to lose those games. But I think that he's just accepted that his talent around him may not be to his level, but it's to the caliber they need to win a national championship, and that he cannot do it all by himself. And I think when you're the star, when you've grown up to be the star, you've always been the best player on your team, you have a different mentality as far as selflessness. And I think that I feel like he lacked that to start the year off. But most recently, I think he's been a lot more of a facilitator and a lot more willing to give that ball up and let other people shine.
Yeah, this Cooper Flag guy, I'm not sold. I'm just not, Daryl.
Clearly, Hassan, you're not sold. I'm
really not sold. I think he's an NBA player.
But do you think the issue on Duke's end? I mean, we talk about Hubert running his 4-corner offense and failing to make adjustments and put guys in the roles and everything. Do you think that we should be talking about the coaching effort of Shire? I mean, if you keep talking about all these mistakes that Cooper Flag keeps making, I mean, if he continues to make these things and isn't coached out of them, then we should be talking about Shire just as much as
it's hard to talk about Shire when he's won by 20 plus points his last few games. I mean, while I'm talking about mistakes that the freshman is making, I think they're freshman mistakes. And I think that John Shire has done a good job. I think he should be, as much as I was as critical as I was of him to start the year off, I think he should be applauded for their most recent games. they have looked good. They have looked like a dominant team against, yes, somewhat weaker competition because SMU can't even beat a shitty Carolina team, but they have looked good most recently, and they've looked their best, and they look better over the course of the year. I think John Shire deserves credit, if nothing else.
Okay, Daryl, here's my problem with Cooper Flag. I don't see a cold-blooded shooter. I don't see a nasty, nasty, nasty handle. And then the thing that really bothers me is when he gets contact, I don't see control around the rim. I don't. I simply don't. I don't, Daryl. I don't.
I'm not sold on him in the NBA either. Because, I mean, right now, it almost feels like he uses his size to his advantage. In the NBA, everybody's that big.
Yeah,
so
and
I think he's going to get tossed around.
I'm getting flashbacks of two players. Christian Laettner. And I think Christian Laettner was freaking dominant in college basketball. Okay. And I'm not even getting that dominance from Cooper Flag.
Christian Laettner,
and I'm also getting vibes of a Carolina guy, Tyler Hansbrough, dominant in college basketball. Mean, but he couldn't do that in the NBA. And I'm seeing less male than both of those guys. And those guys couldn't get it done in the NBA. So Cooper Flag is a freaking question mark to me. I think he's a good player. He's got a good motor. He's got great size. He's got some tools. But I don't see a nasty dribble. I think his pocket gets picked in the NBA when he goes inside. I don't see a cold-blooded shooter so that he can get...
got it. I have to interject. I'm sorry. I think that I think you're right with your comparison of Christian Laettner. I would agree with that because I do see that at times, a lot of times. I will say I don't like the Hansbrough comparison, but I do think that in today's NBA, Christian Laettner would have been far more successful. I think in the 90s, when you're talking about the era of dominant big men and low post basketball and those things, I think that he fell short. I think today, where you're stretching the floor, and Cooper Flag, you got to commend him, man. He has been a lot more efficient from the three, too. No, he's not an elite shooter. He's not Con Knipple, but he does everything good. He does everything well. And he may not be elite at anything, and one thing in particular, but I think that because he does everything well, if he continues to work on his game, he's going to be one hell of an NBA player. And he has a fucking motor and tenacity that's unlike anybody else that has been a number one pick, projected pick in the last 20 years.
I think his problem when he gets to the NBA is going to be that he's going to be expected to be dominant, and he's going to go to a shitty team because he's going to be top 2 or 3 pick, probably the first overall pick, whatever you want to call it. And he's going to be expected to be something he's not. And a guy like Sion, who's going to go later in the first round, carve out a role, I think you're going to end up seeing him and hearing about him a lot more than you will a guy like Cooper Flag in the NBA.
I could not agree with you more. Duke Carolina fans, download Duke Carolina, the Blue Blood Rivalry film on iTunes or Apple TV or wherever you get your VOD downloads.
Hey, Queen. Queen, you know you my guy, right? I'm always pulling for you. Tonight, when you step on the court, I step on the court too. And we in it.
Only 2 games that matter. It's the North Carolina game at Duke and the Duke game that's at North Carolina.
When we wake up on game day, there's a knot in my stomach. We've been up since 6 a.m. this morning watching recorded Duke Carolina games.
I watched the Rivers shot
about 15 times.
Yeah. Rivers on his own. Yes, at the buzzer.
We're here for the Duke game.
And it is 10 hours and 9 minutes till game time.
The Blue Devils win 85-84.
Nothing better than North Carolina and Duke. It is the best rivalry in all of college basketball. Hall of Fame coaches, great players, and usually so much at stake.
And that's it.
The fans have as much to do with the rivalry being great as the players and the coaches.
It's 5 hours before game time.
Well, there's no question that the rivalry is there every day in our community.
Can you imagine what it would be like around here if people didn't have it? It would be terrifying.
We are 30 minutes away from tip-off.
It's one of the most exciting events you can be a part of, and I still say it's not the biggest rivalry in college basketball. It's the biggest rivalry in all of sport, bar none.
It's game time!
Prepare for Duke and North Carolina to face off like never before. Blue Blood Rivalry 5K! 5K! Sign up one, sign up all. Students, families, alumni, locals, non-locals, everyone! And you don't even need to be from UNC or Duke, because we have a Party Crasher division. Party Crasher! Come state, Wake, UVA, anyone, and join the fun. Crash their party! But the real battle is between the Blue Devils and the Tar Heels. Before it's settled on the court, it'll be settled on the race course. But there's more. There will be a special basketball dribble division where each participant will travel the race course dribbling a basketball. Dribbling a basketball? Hell yeah! That's cool! So sign up now! Attention all racers, prepare for the event of a lifetime. The race course will most certainly decide a champion.
Let's talk about player-specific performances on the Carolina side. Daryl.
Tomato.
Ian Jackson, Drake Powell. Man, I'm like, when I see Ian bring the ball up the court, I'm like, Hubert, you're freaking short. Your team is short.
So short.
Get that 6'5" guy on the pitch. Get Drake Powell on the pitch, right?
Yeah.
And now we're winning. Now you're winning, Will, right?
Yeah.
And I said in our first couple of podcasts, where let these guys go. We're not in that era. We're not in that era.
You're right. You were right.
Now, when I see Ian Jackson and I see Drake Powell, I see puppies. I see like gangly puppies. And I see such an upside that I think year 2, year 3 in the NBA, these guys are NBA guys, getting buckets, getting moments, getting highlights. And I think that both Ian Jackson and Drake Powell will be better than Cooper Flagg in the NBA. That's my hot take. Your thoughts, Will?
I think Drake Powell's going to be the guy, man. I love Ian Jackson. I love his game. I mean, you look at the last 5 games, he's had 24, 26, 23, 27. He's killing it for us, right? But I think if you look at Drake Powell's game, he's got the most complete game of anybody on our roster. He's 6'6", so he's got that size to him. Yeah, does he look? Could he add a few pounds of muscle? Probably afford to stay in college another year and bulk up a little bit. Probably. But the decisions that he makes, the vision that he's got on the court, his rebounding ability, his passing ability, man, I'm wildly impressed with the dude.
All right, Will, let's talk about player performances. Who else can help this team? Like, so when I think of this team, I think of Ian, Drake, RJ.
Yep.
Seth, I'm a fan of Seth Trimble. Seth is what he is.
Yep.
Okay. He is what he is. He's coming off injury. Is that correct?
He is. Yeah. I forget what the injury was specifically. But I know we didn't have him against Louisville, and that was pretty evident that we missed him on the court for that game for sure.
And I'm not sold on Elliot Cadeau. I'm just not. Okay. Great jump shot against UCLA. I was yelling no. I was like, do not shoot. No. And it went in. But congrats to Elliot Cadeau. I don't think he's the answer. Do you have anybody else? Is Van Allen Lubin, is he an answer?
I think if we're going to make any kind of run at all, we need a guy. We need Van Allen Lubin. We need Seth Trimble. And those are the two. I mean, he's carved it down. We're really only playing 7-8 guys a game right now. And Seth defensively is that guy, man. We need him on the floor as a shutdown defender. And then Van Allen Lubin is I like his game. He's a little inconsistent. He's kind of all over the place. He makes some questionable decisions every once in a while, but he's one of those guys that you need off the bench for sure.
All right. So what do you think about James Brown? What do you think about Jalen Washington? You got anything for me on those guys? Can Washington contribute? I mean, he didn't really contribute last night.
And he hasn't really contributed at all this season. So
right. Just really. Has he hit a 3 yet?
No, not yet. I knew it was coming. Whatever.
I was just wondering. I really this time because I stopped paying attention to the stat that you told me he was gonna do something in that he's literally done 0 in. But I just wanted to ask.
I thought I can't believe his regression, man. He's confusing as hell to me because I mean, obviously having a guy like Baycott around you can kind of you're freed up a little bit more when Baycott consumes all the attention. But I mean, he's our biggest guy. He's 6'10". We need him to step up, and he just hasn't yet. He's frustrating as hell.
And another guy that you need to step up is this Jalen Withers guy. He's older. He should be more mature. He's got great size, and it's not happening. And
he's freakishly athletic too.
He's okay. He's got good length, but he's not even using that. He's not really running the floor. He has to step up. I feel like you're not getting enough from him. All right, let's go to looking ahead. Let's look ahead. Daryl, back to you. The momentum. How do you see Duke performing in the ACC, and what are their biggest challenges they'll face in the next couple of weeks?
I think their biggest challenge probably isn't until the out-of-conference game against Illinois. Obviously, I talk a lot of shit.
Okay, so you're saying they're going to blow through Notre Dame.
Yeah, I don't even think that. I think it's going to be another 20-point game. Yeah.
Blow through Miami.
Yeah.
Blow through Boston College.
Yeah.
Blow through Wake Forest.
Scrape them on the floor. Yep. Mm-hmm.
Wait. Is it at Wake or is it at Duke?
Because
that's the real question. Wake is two different teams.
It's at Wake Forest.
Wake will beat you guys.
I think you said some shit like that about some other teams that we just played, and we haven't lost. Listen, here's the deal, Hassan. Yes, you name them. I think the Blue Blood Rivalry again is going to be interesting. I'm really looking forward to that game, but it's in Cameron, and I think the first game of the rivalry this year being in Cameron does benefit Duke, and I think they beat Carolina. That's probably going to be an interesting game. Outside of that, these are 15 to 20-point victories across the board.
Okay, so from today it's 6 games to get to the UNC game. You're predicting 6 wins. Then after the UNC game is Syracuse, Clemson. Wins, right?
Yeah.
Cal, Stanford.
Yeah.
And then Virginia.
Absolutely.
Okay, so you're predicting 11 wins in a row.
11 in a row, Hassan. And then that Illinois game is going to be interesting. Again, stiff competition. I think the Illinois game is going to be where we find out a lot about this team going into March.
And do you know why, Daryl?
Why? I mean, is this a rhetorical question?
Yeah.
Why is that, Hassan?
Because Illinois is freaking ranked. That's why. They're
absolutely
ranked. And nobody else is ranked.
Nobody else is ranked. I agree. I'm not saying
You're
this.
Ranked.
I do think Duke is a dominant team, but the ACC also is subpar this year, to say the least. And so I think you name all these teams and they don't have the competition. They don't have the talent to meet what Duke has, man. This is an incredible Duke team right now.
You know how many ranked teams you have in the ACC?
1, maybe 2.
1, Duke.
Yeah.
1.
That is crazy. And I think we talked last year about how the ACC wasn't very good last year, and in the era of NIL and the era of transfer portal, I just can't believe that it didn't get any better. It might have gotten worse.
No, I think it's gotten worse. And the players are going where the money is, right? Okay, Auburn, they obviously want to play basketball. They're number 2, right? The Kansas, they obviously have an NIL deal, right? Have NIL, right? Like Duke has not really played many ranked teams. So
but they did have a stretch where they had a tough schedule. You got to look Kentucky, Arizona, Kansas, Auburn in a stretch of 8 games or whatever. That's 4 very, very good
and they
teams.
lost two of the 3, right?
And they lost. They beat.
They lost to
Well, I
Kansas.
guess Arizona's
They
not ranked
lost to
anymore.
Kentucky.
Arizona's not ranked anymore. But they were at the time. So they beat 2 out. It was 2 out of 4. It was 2 out of 4. They lost to Kentucky. They lost to Kansas, but they beat Arizona and they beat Auburn.
All right. Well, the reason why you're going to go on this 11 game run potentially is because
ACC sucks, and also because Duke is talented. I mean, you still got to give the team credit for being talented. Like
the only team in the ACC with a considerable NIL is Duke, and Duke may have the best NIL setup in college sports. I don't know if you know that, but their coffers are stocked. They're in football and in basketball. They're getting what they want because they can pay for it. That's why, Daryl. They can.
Shout out.
Let me say it again. They can. Let me get the part in there. They can pay for it. That's why.
Michael Jordan needs to take a page out of Magic Johnson's book and start to throw his money at these players and support the team. Besides the Jordan shit that they get to wear.
Yeah, you might be right. So let's we're talking Michael Jordan. Let's go over to Will. Looking ahead, Will, recent wins. How do you see UNC performing in the upcoming games? You had some success, and what are the biggest challenges they're gonna face?
So we have had some success. We're 3-1 in the conference right now. If we play the way we did last night, I think that was the most complete game we've played all season. And I think that if we play the way we did last night, defensively, rebound-wise, our shooting performance, everything, I think that, we play State on Saturday at State. That's always a tough game, rivalry game. They'll get
is that a win?
I think it is, yeah. Yeah, I do.
Why?
State's too inconsistent this year. They brought in
no.
Isn't that the pot calling the kettle black?
No. It's NC State. If they're going to show up for 2 games this year,
it'll be awesome, Duke.
They're going to show up for that Duke game.
Yep.
They're going to show up for the Carolina game. And those fans over there in Raleigh don't give a crap about anything. It's a successful season if they beat Carolina. That game is at what is it? The Lenovo Center now? The Lenovo Center in Raleigh?
Yeah.
It's at Lenovo.
Yep.
It's going to be packed with red. They're going to make sure that not many Carolina people can get seats over there.
That's fine.
I think it's an L.
I think it'll be a close win. I think that's a 5-point within.
Daryl, what do you think?
I think the fact that we're even debating whether or not they're going to win the game tells us what Carolina looks like this year.
All right. So then you got Cal, then you got Stanford, UNC at home. What do you got, Will?
I think win against Cal, win against Stanford, win against Wake. They're bad this year.
At Wake, no.
At Wake.
It's
Wake is tough. Man.
It's at Wake, Will.
Yeah.
Remember,
2 different teams.
Wake is going to show up.
I think you lose the Wake game. I think you lose the State game, and I think you beat Stanford and Cal.
And then we got Boston College. That's a win.
Okay, that's a win. And then let's talk about Pitt at Pitt. I don't know if you win that one.
That'll be tight. I think this team's better than we're giving them credit for. You're giving them credit for. Daryl wants to guarantee a 20-point win in every game, so I'm not even going to listen to his shit anymore.
But the thing is, they've been winning by 20 every game, so my guarantees are pretty accurate. Sounds like.
But here's the thing. Why Daryl's comments were acceptable. 11 wins because he's ranked. And they're playing nobody who's ranked. Now, when I look at UNC's roster or schedule, guess what, Will?
What's that?
Are you ready?
Yeah.
UNC isn't ranked.
I don't care.
No. But you should care because you're not ranked and you're playing not ranked teams. So those teams are closer to your level. Right.
That's totally.
And that's
fine.
That's why the Pitt game matters, because you're not ranked. And the reason why you're coming off
teams
of
make it into the tournament, you only have top 25 ranked. You only have 25 ranked teams. Not every team is going to be ranked every game you play.
We've already talked about the AC.
What? You've already? No, I'm just saying this. That's where I'm at this point on January 8th of 2025, halfway through the season. Yeah, the season's been up and down. We've lost to 5 ranked teams. We're playing. We've had a tougher out of conference schedule.
UCLA at home, barely by 2 points.
Also barely beat Notre Dame as well.
That's
at home.
I'm okay with that. That's fine. I look at your schedule as well. I don't see ACC is tough, man. Every year, regardless.
No.
Will you let me finish?
The ACC is not ranked, Will. That's what you got to tell the fans. It is not a ranked conference.
I don't need to tell them nobody in the ACC is ranked. You've done that enough today.
Okay, so the ACC is weak. Go ahead, Will.
So the ACC is down, obviously. Nobody's going to argue that, right? But every year you get going in conference play, teams have injuries, whatever. And we just got Seth Trimble back. We're getting our guys back healthy. We've got roles carved out for Drake and Ian and all these guys. I don't see why we couldn't beat State at State. State's not a world burner anyway. Like these games are winnable games. And then
I have a question.
You're not going to go 11-0 in conference play, or you're
I
not going to
have
go
a question.
undefeated in conference play.
I'm going to assume the role of Hassan. What happens on Saturday, February 1st? With
Saturday, February 1st, you guys beat us. We split this year. I already said that at the beginning of the season.
Do you really think the gangly puppies that Hubert's going to bring into the Dean Dome and the men that John Shire is going to bring on there, you really think that UNC has a chance?
Yeah, I do. The rivalry.
Well, I think we're ruffling feathers, man. You've gotten like closer and closer to the screen every question that Hassan has asked. I believe that you're about to jump through that. I believe you're going to jump through it here pretty soon.
I mean, you really think you have a chance? Like, if you got through the last 4 games, and I said it was up and down, you look like you righted the ship, and you were playing a 15th ranked team, a 19th ranked ACC team, I would agree with you, Will. But you're not playing good teams.
Yeah,
like the Georgia, a win in the ACC, a win against Campbell. Okay. A loss to an unranked Louisville. Okay. A loss. A barely win to an unranked Notre Dame. An unranked SMU. Their schedules look good because they're saying, oh, yeah, they're 12-3, right? But they didn't play anybody, okay? They certainly have not played ranked opponents. And so I think UNC could come out in the top half or right under Duke in the ACC, but that doesn't mean that the distance that Duke is away from UNC isn't 20 points.
We haven't played ranked opponents.
Harold, do you see where I'm going with this?
Yeah, I get it. I think that, Will, at the end of the day, yes, in ACC, in-conference games are always tough games and tough atmospheres in collegiate basketball. However, I think that you have to, for this Carolina team to prove something to someone, they have to dominate a game. You're right. They had their most complete game yesterday, and that's better. But that was following a game that they very well could have lost. And that was after a game that they actually did lose. And so right now, maybe they're clicking. Maybe you're right. Maybe they're turning over a new leaf. But I got to see it. And I got to see it this Saturday against State.
I think you will.
All right. So, Daryl, let's go back to you. No, Will. No, I'm not letting you off the hook.
What you got for
I'm not gonna let you off the hook.
Okay.
A serious ACC run, can Carolina make that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes. Could Carolina get to the ACC tournament, Will?
Yeah.
Yes or no?
Yes.
Yes, I agree. But if Carolina doesn't get better, they have the problem I'm having, Will, when I talk about the tournament for this team and a top side for this team is the fact that they're not playing anybody.
What do you mean we haven't played anybody? We've played
five. So Will.
We've played 5 ranked teams this year that are currently ranked, not Arizona, who's not ranked anymore. Arizona's trash this year.
What was your record in those games?
What are the record, Will?
We went.
You beat UCLA. That's your ranked win.
Yeah, we beat UCLA. We won
and you barely beat them, and you were at home. You weren't on a neutral court. If you were in
outside of
Los Angeles, that's a loss. Neutral court, that's a loss.
What I look at is these early season out of conference games. Yeah, would you like to win them? Yes, absolutely. This team's not gonna. We're not Duke. We've already talked about the disparity in talent. We were ahead by you saw Florida beat the shit out of Tennessee by 30 last night. We were ahead with 2.5 minutes we were ahead with 1.5 minutes to go in that game. We can compete against these good teams. And if we get rolling, if you build up a little confidence, look at all these teams that have gotten rolling in conference play, made a run. Look at State last year. I'm not saying that we'll win the ACC tournament, but you look at these teams that can get hot. Right now, Joe Lenardi's got us as a 10 seed with a little up arrow. So who knows?
You guys improved to be the 10 seed.
All you have to do is get in, right? Anything can happen once you're in. So I'm not saying that this team's going to win a national championship. I'm not pulling some bullshit like Daryl and guaranteeing a 20-point win in every single game that we play in. But
if you had the talent, you would do that.
Well, here's what I'm saying. Will, going to Clemson, going to Georgia Tech, going to Wake Forest is not like going to Florida. It's not like going to Georgia. It's not like going to Alabama. It's not like going to Auburn. And do you know why, Will? There's one reason why it's not the same anymore.
Because they're not ranked? Is that why?
No. It's called the NIL. It's called money.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Money, right? What the ACC is saying to me is they're not investing. They've got this great culture of the best basketball conference in America. But as a result of the NIL and the lack of funds at NC State, the lack of funds at Wake Forest, these teams aren't even competitive.
I mean,
any reason why Duke we're talking about
State made a Final Four last year and they're not competitive. I mean, they're not as competitive this year, but they're still competing. We had 2 of the Final Four teams came from the ACC last year. So these teams can be competitive. Yeah, there's a disparity in NIL money and all that. We spent a whole episode talking about that.
Who was the other Final Four team last year?
Yeah, dude.
Okay, so
who lost to State in the Final Four?
I was about to say, did you guys lose to State last year?
Yeah, we did. Yeah, not in the game that mattered though.
That's because you couldn't make it.
That's fine.
Okay, so Will, let me ask you a question. How do you see this season shaping up? And starting with ACC finish, ACC tournament, NCAA tournament, and then after you go, I'm going to say yes or no. So go ahead, Will.
You want me to walk through every game, or what do you?
No, just walk through. Just walk through. How do you project the season going? ACC finish, just regular season.
I'd say 3rd.
Who's ahead of you?
I would say Duke, obviously, and then Pitt. Outside of their performance last night, I'd say that there's always a team like that. So I'm not going to declare us in 2nd yet, but I would say 2nd or 3rd.
Okay, agreed. ACC performance.
I mean, I